Greetings, it's Adam at Irata Non Grata, and it's been another little break here. I've been meaning to finish posting videos from Towers 2 on the Atari Jaguar. I just been getting very sidetracked on a lot of things as of late. But just to catch up a little bit on some news, first off, the big one, the tweet that Atari posted that already has 1.4 million views on X, is that they're bringing Infogrames back as a publishing label. Now, I don't know exactly how many games Infogrames themselves developed back in the day. I know for the most part, a lot of the stuff they just were the publisher, and they did acquire some IP out of that. Like for a long time, they held the IP to Alone in the Dark, but they sold that off some years ago under their former CEO, Fred Chesnais. But under Wade Rosen, they're bringing it back and going to be apparently focusing on publishing games that don't really have anything to do with the Atari brand. So it sounds like they're trying to keep Atari as a kind of a retro slash new retro sort of thing. I mean, I can understand that on one side. On the other, I suppose I think there's value in having your retro brand still be able to show that it can do both. You know, it's like Nintendo is technically a retro brand, but they still come out with all these games that still push the envelope forward. And I mean, even Sony at this point, the PlayStation brand could be considered a classic brand too. And so they're still able to do new things without needing other names. And so overall, from what I've seen, the reaction to this announcement has been a little bit mixed. I know in some areas, like in France, Infogrames, even though that's where they used to hail from, they weren't very well liked, or a lot of the games that they published weren't very well liked. Back in my day, I remember the first time I came across the Infogrames logo and title and all that was with a game called Outcast, which I really enjoyed. I loved that game. Of course, it was developed by somebody else. But I think Infogrames did do some of the development on it, if I'm recalling that correctly. There is a new version of Outcast that's out there now, but it doesn't have anything to do with Infogrames or Atari. And of course, it was Infogrames who bought the Atari brand from Hasbro for $5 million back in 2001 or 2002, somewhere around there. And so, yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes. It's just, yeah, what do you think about that one? But that's not the only piece of Atari news out there. Songbird Productions has announced that this very limited edition run of Tempest 3000 for the NUON DVD game console hybrid that came out in 2000 and died a quick death in 2001 is now getting this limited reprint, and it's officially licensed from Atari, but they're only doing one run. I didn't see where they said how many copies that they are producing. Even though I have the original, I think I mentioned I've lost my disc somewhere. I don't know what happened to it, so I may end up buying this anyways. And of course, it's nice to just support Songbird. It's nice to see somebody supporting the NUON, but yes, this is an official Atari release, and obviously there wouldn't be any reason to publish it as an Infogrames game in that regard. But one last thing also from X, and this is much more retro and than even the NUON, is found this tweet from a Jonathan Thomas, and I don't really know much about him or anything really beyond this and a quick glance at his X feed, which we used to call Twitter. But I believe he might be the one that's developing this, and already did develop for the pole position for the Atari STE. Now I have an Atari ST 1040. I think it's an F, and I haven't done much with it. I should get one of those SD card adapters. Like there's Ultra Satan or Satan. I'm not sure which is the correct way to pronounce it. I'm sure somebody will get triggered if you mispronounce anything on the internet. But the look at this is pretty sweet. I mean, most of the Atari ST games that I've played are generally a bit choppy. I mean, there are some that aren't quite that. Now, granted, I've never owned an STE, and I know that its enhancements, such as having a blitter, we're also able to allow it to have better, smoother graphics, but still, this demo looks pretty nice to me. I mean, it moves along pretty fast. It looks like there's still some stuff to do with the collisions and whatnot. I don't know how far along this is, but if you're into the Atari ST and maybe you play it on the original hardware or maybe you do the emulated thing, this could probably be a nice game to be looking at getting once it's finished. And of course, I don't know what it is, but I would like to get a Falcon one of these days. But I've noticed that it seems like the Falcon has almost no games whatsoever for it. Maybe like 20 to 30 total that were made back in the day, and there's not been really any homebrew developments for it either. And now, granted, I'm not really plugged into the scene, so I could be wrong. It just seems like most of the stuff that I see out there are hardware demos, and some of those are just from also back in the 90s. But I've just rarely heard of a new game being developed for the Falcon, and now I know the Falcon is backwards compatible with stuff like the ST, STE, and so perhaps this game would run even better on a Falcon. But it'd be cool to see something like this be made just for the Falcon and take advantage of its DSP and other stuff like that. But anyways, let's just catching up on a little bit of news out there. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next video whenever that happens to be.